so many people on. So I wanted to do a debrief from the match last weekend. First and foremost, because being on camera and doing lives makes me incredibly uncomfortable. So, I figured it'd be fun. Hey, Kent. But also because this was one of the best matches I've attended, and I felt like it would be fun to talk about. Oh, thanks, Adam. Yes, Grant. Justin will be in North Carolina next month to shoot with you guys. So, should be a good time. That's basically the deal Justin and I do. So we trade off. I got to go to Utah and Mesa. He's going to North Carolina. Hopefully we both make it to the polar vortex next month. We just have to figure out who's going to watch the dogs, but it's only one night. So it works. It works for us. We got some needy little animals here that don't like to be kenneled. So we usually have someone come stay, which means one of us has to be home or we have to have a sitter for the pups. So it should be good. Grant, I would say I got the better end of the deal too, except for it was really freaking cold. It was, but you know what? It could have definitely been worse. It was not as bad as they said it was going to be. So my rifle doesn't like to shoot under 20 degrees. So I had Justin's heated vest and I had a soft case that I borrowed from Lynn Bigelow, and I had the heated vest wrapped in around the barrel in the morning, and I was worried that I was going to have to do that all day and haul it from stage to stage, but it warmed up, and it ended up being like close to 25 when we started, which was great. Not so great for the whole melting of the snow and the trying to walk through and I'd argue climb through the course of fire, but it was good. Don't tell everyone that you're going to the polar vortex. That's good.
Secret about the barrel warming.
Oh, the barrel warming secret. We don't have secrets. Chris, I was running RWS R50, which doesn't like, the lube does not like to get frozen in the barrel, thus warming things up. I also bought myself some new bibs, and for all the females in the room, and I don't know, I guess guys could probably wear them too. It's by this company called Doing Something Good, DSG, and they have drop seat bibs, so I could zip down the sides, and then you can use the bathroom without totally undressing, which is perfect for winter. So, Hannah, we did not get the course of fire until the morning of the match. So, there wasn't a lot of prep time. There wasn't a walkthrough in advance. So, we got the match books. We sat in the car. We looked through it. Everything with this one was pretty straightforward. I'd say the most challenging aspect of the match was target acquisition. But it was not terrible. All of the targets were pretty obvious which stage they went with, if that makes sense. But there were a lot of targets, and there were several targets per stage. So, for example, stage 1, we had 8 different targets. So, let's see, another example. We had 5 different targets here. Oh, yeah, that was the Simon Says one. That was a good one. And then this one had 14 different targets, just for example. No target markers either. There were some flags marking some of the targets, but they were still really hard to see. Yeah, it was a lot of targets. So my mental preparation for the complicated stages. This is something that I learned from Justin, that I fought him on for a while, but turns out he was right. Mentally walking through the stage in my head. So I always make sure that I look through the binos and I confirm every target through the binos. Then I look over top of the binos and I look with my naked eye and I make sure I can find every target with my naked eye. And that's as much from the shooting position as is possible. Not every time can you get into the shooting position, but I try and be at least right behind the shooting position. And then I will rehearse that several times until I can walk away and walk back to the shooting position and make sure I can find all the targets in the proper order. Then I can step away from the shooting position and I rehearse that in my head. So in my head, I'm picturing, okay, I'm going to shoot target 1 twice, then I'm going to move, and then I have to go over here, and then I'm going to adjust my bipod, and then I'm going to shoot target 2 twice. Then I'm going to move again, I'm going to aim at target 3, and maybe I have to adjust something again. So I'll rehearse that in my head several times before the stage as well. And then obviously having a dope card reference guide is also really helpful. Good question. Yeah, good call, Kent. It helps to spot while someone else is shooting. Yep. So when you're forcing yourself to follow all of the targets to spot where someone else is going, not only do you get the target order down, but you also get to see what the wind is doing a lot of the times, or you can see kind of which targets people are struggling on and things like that, and that can help you a lot as well. And Kent, thank you for being on our squad all weekend and being one of the consistent spotters for us, because I don't know if I did more than like a minute of spotting the whole weekend. It was just kind of crazy trying to keep things organized. Good. What other questions do you guys have? Yes, we did have some high angle stuff. So we had a stage. Let me find which stage it was. I think it was stage 1, I think. Yep. So it was 8 targets near to far, 2 shots each. The first one was at 27 yards, and it was basically, 45. Is that 45? I don't know my angle super well. It was a steep angle for the first 2 targets. The second target was at 47 yards. And then there was also one later on that I underestimated. It was stage 7 with 14 different targets. It was 1 shot on each. And the first one was at like 24 yards. And then the second one was at like 28 yards or something like that. And the first 2, I had found, and I had done my rehearsal in my head. When I got down on the spool to start shooting, I got on what I thought was the first target. And I realized that the hanger was heading the opposite direction of the first target. So I had to pull my head out and go, no, I had to go way steeper than I thought with the angle. So that threw me off. I ended up timing out on that one, unfortunately. But I did hit everything that I aimed at. So, yeah, that last one up the hill. That's very true. Was there ample time to do that prior to the stage if you were the first shooter? So Chris, I felt like there was a decent amount of time. So if I'm the first one up, I was the first one up on the first stage. So I was like the second one up on the spool one that I just explained, which, maybe was part of why I didn't fully have which target was the first one to start on. So I did tell my squad about that to hopefully help them out, make sure that the angle is nice and steep. But basically what I try to do is, if I'm the first one up, kind of cheat over when the squad in front of us is finishing. Liusually there's some time for that because you're the second one up on the prior stage. So, if you talk to your squad mates, Boyd Linder and Jared Howell, they were the match directors for this match. They did a phenomenal job, by the way, side note. I had a ton of fun, and they did a really great job organizing, and they kind of knocked it out of the park. So they actually encouraged the first 2 shooters that are done or the second and third shooters that are done, who would be first and second on the next stage. They said basically the first shooter, when they're finished, stay at the stage and run like the tablet or spot or something like that. And then numbers 2 and 3 go to the next stage, get all of your stuff set up, because you're going to be number 1 and 2 on the next stage. And I actually thought that was a pretty cool system. It worked decently well for us. I think at the beginning we were trying to kind of get our legs under us as a squad, and it took a little bit to get organized. We also had 2 young guns who were phenomenally helpful. And then we had 2 guys who this was their first match ever, which I felt bad for them about, because this was a lot to deal with, a lot of target acquisition, a lot of targets, a lot of rounds in a short period of time. So, but they did a good job. They seemed like they were having fun too. So, and then by the end of it, they were, also contributing equally. So it just took us a little bit to get started with it. But another thing that I like to do, just to make sure that I have enough time, is just to give myself that time. I don't want to panic, so I want to be efficient and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. But I also realize that as a competitor, I deserve to have a minute to figure stuff out, and I don't have to go up there unprepared. So, I just explain that to people. Yeah, I know, Hannah. It was crazy. It was. I ended up asking them, so, have you guys done this much before? And found that they was their first match ever. So I suggested that they go to monthly matches. They didn't realize that those existed. So we talked about that a little bit too. Mag changes. Good question. So another thing that was cool about this match, because I run an Ani and we only have 10 round magazines, is that there was mandatory mag change after. It didn't say when you had to do it, but basically what happens is if it's like 16 rounds, for example, and you don't change your mag until round 14 and you time out on round 13, if you hit shot 11, 12, 13, those don't count. You only get your first 10 impacts. So it really forced people to decide if they were, thinking they might time out. They have to plan their mag change closer to that 10 round point. For me, I had to, so I didn't have to worry about that all day. And I'm used to that, so that wasn't much of an issue. But what I look for is ways for me to break it down into segments. So we had a troop line, for example, where it was 5 targets, and it was targets 1 through 5, then back to 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it was 2, 3, 4, 5 again. So for me to keep straight which target I had to come back to, I went down and back, and that was 9 rounds, and then I reloaded before the 10th round, and then I just went 2, 3, 4, 5 again. So I break it out based on where I'm at in the shooting order, where I'm at in the target order, or what makes the most sense if, for instance, I'm in breaking position. So if I have a 12 round stage and there's 3 positions, usually I'll end up reloading after position 2 because I'm already breaking my position. So doing that mag change at the same time is easier than breaking position again while I'm already, on the 3rd position. Was the food as good as it was at your matches? Yeah, it was pretty good. So they actually didn't do lunch at this one, and I want some feedback from you guys on this. It was interesting to me. I don't really feel strongly one way or another, but there was no lunch fed to people. There were snacks and water, but they did a dinner instead. And typically at our matches, we do lunches, and then we have snacks, obviously, and then we don't do a dinner. So I'd like to hear what you guys think about that, and whether you'd rather eat a meal at the end because you're hungry, or would you rather eat lunch in the middle? Okay. Did I miss any? Hey, Dom. Yeah, Susie's first match was a Night X match. Yeah, she shot the as an RO for our monster match the first year. That was pretty fun. Yeah, night match is not a recommended first match either. Yeah, thanks, Kurt. All right, Eric says he needs lunch at matches. Noted. Good point, Grant. I don't like having leftovers. That's another good point, too. All right, so all good points. What else you guys got for me? The range. Oh, okay. So the range, it's kind of hard to explain if you haven't been out to Utah. It's in the mountain-ish area. So we were shooting multiple directions at this range, and you might be shooting down or you might be shooting up, but there's a lot of valleys, which mean the wind gets very difficult, because if the wind comes through, it's not going left to right. Even if it's going left to right, it's not going left to right at the target. So I know there was one KYL stage that was really challenging, where I was holding left wind on one KYL and right wind on the other one, and I had no visibility as to why that would be. So that was definitely a challenge. It was also beautiful, one of the most scenic areas I've been. Huge range. So there were 3 matches going on the same day, and I don't remember hearing anyone else. And I know they had some center fire stuff going on, and it was really cool. The snow made it incredibly challenging. So our elevation is not very high in Minnesota. I think we looked it up after the match, and it's like 800 feet above sea level or whatever. And I think out there was like 5,000 something. I don't know. But basically, I was huffing and puffing just walking up a small hill. And then on top of that, we were climbing around through these, like, the snow. At some points, it was frozen on the top, and I'd break through down to my knee. And then there were other points where it was like literally 2 feet of powder. It felt like you were walking in like quicksand. And then in other areas, it was like straight chunks of ice. And then in other areas, it was like melty mud. So that was probably the most challenging walking and trekking and climbing I've done at a match. I think my Fitbit said like 522 active minutes or something. It was crazy. Oh, Hannah, good question. How did I know what wind to hold? I didn't. I didn't, Hannah. So 5,300. Yeah, thanks, Kent. Chris, I could have chronoed in the morning, but I chose not to because I trust my Kestrel. And I just updated it, and my dope has been so on. And I shot in Mesa last month. I've never had a problem with my dope once I got my Kestrel set. So I don't chrono as often probably as I should. Yeah, so Shane, that kind of answers that same question. I did not, my weather meter basically does all that work for me, which is the way that I like it. And in a match like this, and Hannah, I'll get back to you about the wind. But in a match like this, having the right dope becomes so important. So our poor guys on our squad who were brand new, I'm guessing didn't have super accurate dope calculations. That made it a real struggle for them. When we're dealing with, difficult to find targets, tons of different targets, lots of rounds per stage. And then, you have all of those intricacies, and then you add in that you're not shooting at the same target several rounds in a row. You don't really have time to figure out and guess your dope. You have to know that it's on, or you're not going to hit the target. Sorry, my cat is bullying my dog right now, and he can't handle it, so. This is Link. So that's one thing that I feel very lucky for, is having my Kestrel on, and having it be accurate for me. So back to Hannah's question. So a lot of times with wind, especially in the mountains or in an area where wind is not just straight, right? So you have trees blocking it, or you have, any kind of terrain. This is how I do it. And other people who've been shooting longer, please chime in with your 2 cents. But essentially what I do, and luckily it wasn't crazy windy, so it wasn't super high winds, I take my best guess based on what I can see. And in this match, there wasn't a lot that I could see. So I'm trying to look at the terrain to see how things might flow through there. But if I missed, I knew what my next wind call was going to be if I didn't have any feedback. So that's where kind of having a plan of action in advance is helpful. So if you miss your target and you don't know where that round went, I'm either going to double my wind call or I'm going to switch to the other direction. Also talking to your squad mates about it is helpful too. So a lot of crazy humidity. Thanks, Grant. A lot of the information that you get is also from spotting other people's stuff. See if you can see bullets. See if you can see your own bullets, and trying to watch for that and train your brain to look for those is really helpful. It's challenging in a match like this. And the biggest thing I've learned over time with wind is just don't panic. Have a plan. Try something different. And hope for the best sometimes. I did shoot at a skylined KYL at 233 yards, and I couldn't get on target. I think I took 3 shots at it, and I couldn't figure out what the wind was doing in those 3 shots, and it happens sometimes. I think there was only one person in our squad who hit that one. So, there was some weird stuff going on, and you just sometimes have to take your best guess. So you don't always know what wind to hold. Was the MD having a good hair day? I also had a pre-live session question about what happens if Boyd's hair blows in a bad direction. So I'm gonna have to defer to him on that to find out. But I think there's a situation where there's like a atmospheric protective layer, so the wind just kind of bounces off. Yeah, the national championship is going to be interesting for weather. I think that I might rather trek through the snow again than deal with the humidity in North Carolina in July. But we'll see how it goes. I'm just going to try really hard not to pass out from heat exhaustion. So we'll see how that goes. Yep, good call, Kent. That's a good call too. If you get a spot of dirt that you can shoot at, that's even better to get your wind call. So if you're guessing, I felt like at this match it was really difficult because you were switching targets so often and distances that I didn't have extra shots to take at this target to figure out what the wind was doing, because I'm only going to take 1 or 2 shots at that target and then I have to move to the next one, which was kind of fun, but also it was definitely challenging. My barrel thanks Justin. My barrel cleaning procedure. So this gun loves to be clean, and I'm very lucky that that's the case. So my gun or barrel cleaning procedure for this match was, hey Justin, I have to go in an hour. Will you clean my rifle for me while I finish packing? So that's how that was. But no, I like to keep my gun really clean. We have a bore scope, so I check for carbon rings and things like that. Use carbon destroyer if that's on there, and then push through a couple of wet patches, a couple dry patches, and then this thing just immediately when I went to the zero range, it was just stacking them in, which was awesome. Yeah, the snow didn't splash either. That was a struggle. So I know some of you guys should ask Greg Roman about his cleaning procedure, because I know I had him on the NRL 22 podcast and he talked about it, but he has a special, he goes a certain number of rounds or something, and he doesn't like to clean his barrel too much. But he said at this match he had a couple that were dropping low, so it might have been time for him to get his barrel clean. So for me, I'm just glad that my barrel shoots lights out when it's clean, because then I can control that. Before a big match, I can make sure that the barrel's clean, which is nice. Yeah, Teresa and I were commiserating all day. I remember trekking from, I think it was stage 5 to stage 6. You had to go all the way back through past stage 1 and then down the road a little bit and then trek through the snow. and mud and ice to the next stage, and I got there and I basically dumped my pack and like just keeled over for a minute. Electrolytes, yes, good point. So that being said, I had a cramp in my calf, and I thought that maybe it was from like maybe I injured myself falling through the snow so many times. But I always carry liquid IV in my range bag, so I chugged one of those with the water, and it went away like in 5 minutes or something. So I knew I just wasn't as hydrated as I needed to be. Yep. Long 2-day matches. Yeah, so Dirk just shot, I think your first 2-day match was last year at the NRL 22 finale, right? So once you start breaking out into 2-day matches, you really figure out that if you don't take care of yourself on day 1, day 2 becomes even more difficult. So really important stuff. Dialing versus holdovers. I like to do a lot of holdovers. There were instances though where dialing just made sense, like 2 rounds on every target. Let me pull that one up again and see what I did for dope on those. So with that one, the first one was at 27, which is actually 0 for me. Thanks. Hi, Link. Hello. So I didn't have to hold anything for that. And the second one was 47, and it was close enough to 0, and the target was big enough for me to hold 0 on that as well. And then the third one was at 0.6. So I think what I did was I went 0, for 2 shots, 0 for 2 shots, and then I held 0.6 for 2 shots. And then because of the first 3 went like straight down, right here, right there, and then 4 was way over here, I decided to dial for number 4 as my first one that I was going to dial for. So I did a lot of combination in this match of holdovers and dialing. Usually if I have like a 10 round stage and it's 2 shots on each near to far, I would dial each of those. But if it's something where I'm going, like there was another one in here that was like, it was like 50 yards and 130 yards or something similar to that. What was that one? And in that one, holdover is the only thing that makes sense. So if you're going back and forth, there was 52 yards and 134 yards. So my hold was, I dialed to 1/10. So my hold was 0 and then 3-3 at the far target. Excuse me. So yeah, it's really something that you have to think about when you have high round counts too, is what's more important, a perfect elevation or having good parallax and seeing your shots and things like that. So yeah, good things to consider. Thanks, Steph. What power do I run? So for magnification, I typically run around 12x for almost everything at matches. I stay between 10 to 15. In this match, I went out to 10 on the Prairie Dog 14 different target stage, and I should have been maybe even a little bit lower than that. But at some point, it starts to be kind of difficult to see the reticle, and there wasn't time to dial that stage either. So it's sort of a balance between, how do you guarantee which one you're looking at when all the targets are similarly shaped and hanging on similarly shaped targets, and all that good stuff. So yeah, it was good. And Teresa, I did not handle the spinner stage. That's how I handled the spinner stage. So this is my only stage out of the whole match that I kind of didn't like. Sorry, Boyd and Jared. It was an unsupported stage. So it was 4 rounds standing, 4 rounds kneeling, 4 rounds sitting, 4 rounds prone. And you had to do it in that order. If it wasn't in that order, maybe I would have liked it a little more. But basically, you're shooting at a spinner. 4 rounds each position. And if you spin it over in any of those positions, you get an extra half point. For me, unsupported is something that I still struggle with, need to work on. But I also feel like, timing your wobble on something like that, and then also having to time the target at the same time, it just felt like a lot. So part of it's because it's not my strongest suit, but part of it is there's just a lot of different components to it. Yeah, nobody liked that stage. Thanks, Ken. My favorite stage. Okay, favorite stage. That's a good question. I really liked stage. It was the second one we did. It was stage 10. It was called Utah's Skyline, and it was 5 different targets, and they were all on a skyline. Oh, how far was the spinner? 75 yards? 75-ish yards. And so the Utah targets, they were shaped like the state of Utah. Oh, like this. Oh, nice. And the first one was pretty decent size, so you could get a good call on it. They were on a skyline on a ridge. And so you moved your way up the ridge. And you went in the order of first target, then first target, second target, first target, second target, third target, first, second, third, fourth, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. And I really liked the variety of it. It was really fun. It was hard to see the targets in a couple of instances because of the backdrop and they weren't painted. So that made it a little bit more challenging, but it was just, I like the target order. I liked the target sizes. I felt like were appropriate for the distances. It was at 241 to 254 for yardage. So they were far away, but they were decently sized. And it was just fun. It was a fun one. Yeah, the bowling pin. So Kent liked the first one. I think I just didn't like the first one because I get a little bit of first stage jitters and I had to go first on the first stage. But it was stage 9 and it was beer bottle bowling. So there were beer bottle targets. And it was 15 of them set up. So there's one in the front. They were set up and like bowling pins. So then there was one here, then there were 2 behind it, and then there were 3 in a row behind it, and 4, and then 5. And you had to shoot them, first the first target, then 2 and 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 11 through 15. So it was, they were at 115 to 142 yards, and they were really skinny. So it was easy to, not get the right wind call. And I did shoot the wrong target, the first one, which was oops. So after that, I went back to the front target and then counted them again. But I ended up doing pretty well on that one. It was fun. I think I was just like not digesting yet what was happening, so it didn't stick out in my memory. Was there a lot of long range targets? There was a good mixture of targets, actually, I feel like. So stage 9 was 115 to 142 yards. Then there was 241 to 254. But then we went to stage 1 was 27 yards to 172 yards. Then stage 2 was 52 to 134. Stage 3 was 88. Stage 4 was 80 to 233. And then stage 5 was at 54, 55 yards. And then the spinner was at 75 yards, but we don't like to talk about that one. And then stage 7 was 24 to 88 yards. And then stage 8 was 63 to 135. So it was a pretty good mixture. Teresa. Rate the course of fire out of 10. I'd give it like a 9. I think it was probably the most fun match I've ever shot. And if they didn't have an unsupported spinner stage, it probably would have been a 10. Yeah, every stage was over 10 rounds. That was actually really fun too. I did fumble a couple of times with my magazine changes, which hasn't happened to me for a while. I timed out on 3 stages, and I haven't timed out on a stage in a long time. So that was interesting. But it was fun. It was challenging. The range is a 10 out of 10. The weather was a 6 out of 10. Boyd's hair, I don't know if I can comment on Boyd's hair, but I told Boyd and Jared this, and I stand by it. This was probably the most fun match I've ever shot. I really enjoyed the course of fire. Could have used some more bathrooms, guys, but we already addressed that, and they said that they learned their lesson for next time. But yeah, the weather was definitely challenging. It was challenging because it was so cold in the morning. It was challenging because it actually warmed up and I started sweating in the afternoon. It was challenging because of the snow everywhere. and all the different types of snow. And I think I fell down 3-4 times. Luckily, never with my rifle. But yeah, it was challenging for sure. The CCI could handle it. The side view. Okay, thank you, Justin. So I was super stoked that they had 5 places worth of trophies because I eked into 5th place. I felt like I shot really well. I was really proud of myself. There's some phenomenal shooters out in Utah, and I just felt like, I did everything that I could. Very, very few issues, that I felt like I really could have got back. Like I said, I shot the wrong target on one stage, so that was one point, and then I had the prairie dogs where I timed out because I started out thinking I was on the right target and I wasn't. So I ended up adjusting before I shot, but I timed out. So that, cost me 3 points maybe. But aside from those things, I really felt like I did everything that I could. So I was really happy to finish in 5th, and I was even happier that they had 5 trophies because these are like the coolest trophies ever. So check this out. They're from King Skull Metal Works, who did our Monster Match trophies also. And then the side, I'm gonna move out of the way so people can see. And then the bottom is a reticle. It's like just all the attention to detail, you guys, is super cool. I was really excited. So I helped Jared and Boyd with the design of the logo. So I was like, oh, I want one so bad. I wanted the trophy because it's got the logo on it. And Andrew at King Skull does just phenomenal work. What else you guys got for me? Link lost his ball under the couch. Sorry, it's a crisis over here. Yes, I will probably go back next year. I feel like there's a lot on my plate between now and the end of August, beginning of September, so I feel like committing to things for next year feels a little bit out of reach. How many stages did I clear? Good question, Teresa. I think only 2. I think I only cleaned 2 stages, but I dropped only a couple of points on several of them. So this one's a 15 round count. I got 12. Oh, it should be in the back. Yep, I cleaned stage 5 and stage 3 only. I dropped 1 on a couple of stages, and I dropped 2 or 3 on most of the other ones. So it was a good match. Usually when you're dropping 2 to 3 points per stage, that's not indicative of a good performance, but that felt really good to me when the stages are like 16, 15, 14 rounds. So it was a challenging match for sure. Stage 3. Oh yeah, stage 3, that was a good one too. So stage 3 was, if you guys have ever seen a Simon Says target, basically there's a round target in the middle, and then there's shaped targets here, and then shaped targets here. Nice. And they painted them different colors, and what they had you do is you had to start with your rifle on the prop, and then you're standing next to a box with die with different colors on them. You roll the die, and it tells you what color you're going to shoot. So you roll it, it tells you the color. So if it's black, then you go to your rifle, you shoot at the black target, open your bolt, get back up, roll another one. Then you're going to shoot the black target, and if it's red, you shoot black, then red. So you go back down, you shoot black, red. Then you get up and you roll again, and so on for 5 targets, or 5 different die. So you're shooting, black, red, green, blue, white, or something like that. And I ended up cleaning that one. It was cool because it was like 88 yards. There was some tricky winds, but you got your wind call pretty good. If you missed, the target you were supposed to aim at, you were likely to kind of hit a different one, so that could give you an idea of what your wind was doing. And then, you could build from there. But mostly it was challenging by, the high round count and breaking your position. So on that one, after I hit target 1, 2, 3, 4, I had gone through 10 rounds and I was breaking position. So again, that's where I did my mag change. It just made sense to me to do it there. So I'm glad you wore your hoodie, Grant, and I'm glad it came in handy. Like, he's eating chocolate. Sorry, this one's my troublemaker. Today we flew, Shane. So we flew out to Utah. Lynn Bigelow picked us up at the airport and let us crash with him and drove us to the match, which was awesome. Made it a lot less expensive for us, so it made it a lot more feasible to go. Thanks, Kent. It was good seeing you. Say hi to the kids for me. Kent's son and daughter shot with us, and they did phenomenal. His daughter Kaylin finished in like 27th overall, which was phenomenal. There were 94 shooters there, so that was a really high finish. She took top young gun, so that was pretty cool to shoot with those guys. Yeah, did not drive in that. Made that mistake before. Hi, Reese. Yes, so Teresa and I both have TSA pre-check now. I highly recommend it. It's like $80 or $78 or something for 5 years. It's really helpful, especially because they trust you more when you walk through with your support bags and things. They are a little bit more understanding than if you go through the normal line. And I forgot how you go through the normal line. I didn't get TSA pre-check on my ticket for Texas on the way there for some reason. And I had to go through the normal line. I forgot completely what I was supposed to do and what I was supposed to take out and all that fun stuff. So that was a good time. I don't like messing around with TSA. But yeah, flying with rifles is not as bad as people kind of think it is before they do it. So flying out of Minneapolis is super easy if you go Southwest. TSA is right next door to the check-in. So they just weigh it. They have you go around the corner. TSA is super nice in Minneapolis with rifles. It's super easy. So flying back sometimes can be a little bit trickier. But if you have everything in your case lined up properly, typically it's fine. I know we flew out of Phoenix last month, and on the way home they did like a super thorough check of the cases. So just give yourself a lot of extra time. When we fly out of Salt Lake, they end up putting them TSA is like in a completely different area of the airport, so they end up transferring them to TSA. They want you to sit and wait just to make sure that it goes through the check before you go through security. Otherwise you have to come back around if they have to open up the case. So I don't recommend using TSA locks, TSA approved locks. We did that for the national championship in Tennessee. Justin and I shared a case, and then when we opened it back up at home, the people, I don't remember what airport, Nashville we flew out of, they put our scopes touching, and we had foam separating our guns, so we know they pulled them out. Probably were curious about them or playing with them. I don't know what they were doing, but regardless, I don't recommend using TSA locks for that reason. So we just do our normal locks. If they want to get in there, they call us. We'd have to open it up for them, but at least we get to be there and tell them not to ruin our stuff. So yes, TSA pre-check also saved me in Phoenix because I had to drop the girls off with their rifles to get checked out, and then I went by myself to return the rental car and literally sprinted the entire way back to the airport and the shuttle. And if I didn't have pre-check, I would have missed our flight. So also helpful. Good questions. How are you doing, Reese? When's your next match? I'm hoping you make it to the Ultra match in May. Also, if you guys haven't registered yet for the Ultra match, it is filling up quickly. So get registered. Don't wait. Yes, and the day after the ultra match, we are going to be doing a training session with members of Team USA. So I heard a rumor that Boyd Linder is going to sign up for our ultra match, and he will be there. And if that's the case, then he'd be there. Lynn Bigelow's coming. He's one of the seniors. Justin, myself, Tyler Orth will be there. Paul Dallon's going to be there. Greg Stewart's going to be there. And Zane Herman's going to be there. So, no, I mean, I think that's it confirmed so far. But we're going to have a lot of Team USA members there. And our goal with the training is to put together a really cool training for you guys. But also the proceeds are going to help support us in going overseas to compete in Worlds. So we're on the hook for paying our way there, and we're doing a lot of fundraising efforts to kind of help support that. And this is one of those things. So not only do you get a whole amazing day with a bunch of different instructors with a bunch of different perspectives and approaches to things, but you also get to support us. So stay tuned for more information about that. We're pretty excited. Good question. I'm glad you and Devin are coming again, Shane. It's going to be fun. I wanted to come to your your finale match in June, but I'm going to be in Europe. So, bummer. You're shooting a team match with Devin Woody? That's awesome. Is it Rimfire or Centerfire? I'm jealous. That sounds like fun. What am I looking forward to most about Worlds? I think I am looking most forward to taking a deep breath afterwards. No, I'm really excited to travel, to meet a bunch of different shooters from different countries and kind of learn more about the sport over there and what that's like for those folks. And, maybe there's things we can learn and bring back here to grow the sport too. Should be a good time once we get through all the regulatory requirements for having rifles over there and the complexities. Hopefully we get a couple days of sightseeing in and things like that. But really, Italy is just a beautiful country, and that area specifically I've heard is super scenic. So spending time with other really good shooters and that camaraderie also going to be really fun. So I'm excited about a lot of that stuff. Should be a good time. My next winning the match. Yeah. Thanks, Scott. I need someone over here with a teleprompter to tell me what to say. And then Teresa, my next match, let's see, it's end of February. So hopefully this weekend in Forest Lake, if we don't get snowed in. If it's really, really flipping cold this weekend, I probably won't go. Sorry, Hannah. But otherwise, I'll be there. So that's a monthly match at one of our local clubs. And then after that, the Polar Vortex, March 11th in Marshall, Minnesota. I'm hoping we find a pup sitter so I can make it to that one. Justin's going to go for sure. And then after that, Paul Dallon's Brick Burner in April 29th and 30th. So definitely worth checking out if you guys haven't. Should be a good time. Yes, ping pong tournament, Brad. Yeah, if we this Airbnb that we have in Italy is pretty cool. So we might just end up hanging out at the Airbnb the whole time. Yeah, Shane, I'm thinking it's, second week of March, so it should be good weather, right? Knock on wood. Shane's coming from Montana. You should just move out here, you guys. It's a lot shorter commute to all of our matches if you just live in the Minnesota area. When am I coming down there? When's the next match, Reese? Yeah, the Polar Vortex is going to be super fun. Those of you who don't know Eric, he puts on a pretty fun match. The trophies are made by the same guy who made these. They're like probably the coolest trophies I've ever seen. I really love this one. It's super awesome and a lot of attention to detail. I think the ones we did for our night match were cool. They light up and everything, but it's the Polar Vortex ones were like on glass last year and it looks like ice. It's like he's super creative. Andrew does really good work, so check him out. You'd be further from Boyd and closer to Mark. Yeah, you would be further from Boyd, but you just fly. You just get on an airplane and fly. The date's the Ultra match. Oh, thanks, Jane. Put a link to it. May 20th to 21st. So it's technically the 19th to the 21st because the 19th we're going to have some really fun side stages and dope gathering, and you can do a walkthrough of the course fire just like we've done for our last couple. So I know, Shelby, I do. I need to see you girls. I miss you. Are you guys coming up in May? I was going to send you ladies a message. You're shooting, Janine? That's awesome. So Janine is one of our ROs that's like constantly ROing every single match in the area, which is phenomenal for us match directors. And I'm excited that you're going to be shooting your first X match. It's awesome. All right, Shelby, I'll send you a message later with all the info. Oh, bummer, Grant. That stinks. But I guess it's an important thing to go to, so we'll excuse you this time. Awesome. Oh yeah, so at our Ultra match, for those who don't know the Hall family, they are a phenomenal shooting family, great people, and they are starting a new business called the Reloading Shack, which is a food truck business where they're gonna be catering shooting events. So we are going to have them out at the Ultra match. They're going to provide refreshments on Friday so people don't have to leave the range to eat dinner if they don't want to. You're more than welcome to, but that way, you know, we have 3 to 8 segmented for people to zero and stuff like that. So you get to maximize your daylight. If you don't want to leave the range, there should be food there for you to purchase. And we will have snacks per usual and stuff like that. So should be good stuff. And then they're also providing breakfast before the match for purchase. So if people want to buy that, we'll provide lunch, obviously, at the match. But going back to the, you know, lunch versus dinner thing, we'll provide everybody lunch, but at least there'll be food available for purchase for dinner if you do get hungry after the match. I'll be expecting to see some photos, Grant. That sounds really fun. But at least you made it to the party, Rob. That's what counts. All right, I will hang out 1 more minute so Rob can ask a question if he wants to. Then we'll wrap it up. He's feeling the pressure now. Joe, yes, we do still need ROs for the Ultra match. I think we have 5 spots left, technically. So there's an RO sign up, and there's a separate link for that. If you go to the event page, there in the About section, there's a link for ROs, and there's a link to sign up for the match. So both are filling up really quick, which is exciting. It's fun for us. Thanks, Joe. Sweet. Rob, you missed your opportunity. Oh no, here it is. Info on the AB Kestrel. Well, that's like not a last minute at the last minute kind of question. That's a whole nother conversation. What kind of info are they looking for? So for those who don't know, I just recently became an ambassador for Applied Ballistics, which I'm really excited about. It was really easy to say yes to, and it was really flattering to me that they thought of me. I definitely have my work cut out for me to learn the Kestrel front to back now, which is also a really good thing for me to do. I have it set up. It works so well for my rifle, and my dope is just always on, and this gun hammers, which helps. But yes, I definitely need to become more intimate with the ins and outs and all the different features, because there's so much of the Kestrel that I don't leverage that I probably could to up my game. So I will dig into it, and I will share all of the information. So yeah, 22. So you're talking Rimfire specifically, Rob? Okay, I will keep that in mind. I will put together, some information on that, and then I'll bring some people in who know more than me too, so I can ping them with questions. Get you guys get info. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope it was good information, and it was a really phenomenal match. I highly recommend it. If you guys get a chance to go out to Utah, everyone out there does a phenomenal job. Boyd and Jared really just, stepped it up. I feel like now for the ultra match, we have to up our game, which was kind of one of the reasons why we put our match director handbook together, was so that we could go out and shoot awesome matches and people be pushing us. So that's exactly what happened, and it was really cool to see and get to experience, and it was a lot of fun. Thanks, everyone.